Subscribe to Masuk for a strong and prosperous economy.
The 2PM Newscast
with
Frinui Crispin.
Tuesday, 2nd December 2025. Dear listeners, good afternoon and welcome to the 2pm Newscast on Royal FM. In our top stories, an immersion session aimed at transforming volunteering into a development tool for sectorial approaches in a time where there has been a decline in volunteering practices has taken place in Yaoundé. This is in prelude to the International Volunteer Day slated for the 5th of December.
People look at volunteers today as if they are stupid. They are not stupid, they are simply helping. But people look at them as if they are stupid.
Out of the country, Nigeria's Minister of Defense Mohammed Badaru Abubakar has resigned from his position for health reasons. And in sports, the David Pagu era for the Indomitable Lions is officially underway. Appointed just yesterday, the new head coach has immediately named a 28-man squad set to represent Cameroon at the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. Those were the main points. We begin in politics. The third ordinary session of Parliament has drawn its curtains today after a month-long debate on pertinent issues by members of the National Assembly. The closing ceremony of the November session of Parliament, which was chaired by House Speaker Honorable Kavaye Jibril, will be followed by that of the Senate at the Yaoundé Conference Center as from 4 p.m. Both houses closed discussions following the adoption of the 2026 Finance Bill by members of the Upper House of Parliament in the early hours of today. Meantime, the gap between Cameroon's public wage bill and its gross domestic product is a pressing concern following the presentation of the 2026 Finance Bill before the National Assembly. Despite efforts to rationalize recruitment and control spending, the wage bill is expected to rise up to 1.8 trillion CFA francs by 2027. Just what could possibly explain such incoherence? Jeffrey Tachum spoke to some economic experts and brought their reactions in this report.
Days after the presentation of the 2026 budget, economists are pointing out a certain number of factors that could explain the gap existing between Cameroon's public wage bill and its inconsistent gross domestic product. Jamo Haiwang, research analyst and national coordinator at the Cameroon Economic Policy Institute.
Even though the government talks about rationalizing recruitment, the wage bill continues to rise because of recurrent salary adjustment, the payment of arrears, and increases in various allowances, which mechanically raise the cost of civil servants. Second, Cameroon still carries the legacy of a decade of massive recruitment.
In spite of efforts by the government to address wage bill leakages, no significant result has been recorded so far, as economist Henry Kwam explains.
The government wage bill has been increasing consistently over the last 5 or 6 budgets. Since 2023, in fact, the public wage bill has been increasing, even though the government has taken several initiatives to prevent wage bill leakages. None of that has yielded significant results. This year, 10,000 people were let go of the government because those were fictitious employments, and those were draining up the billion away from the government.
Therefore, what solution should Cameroon consider to step out of this situation? For starters, reducing the size of the government and digitize the delivery of public service could be a way forward.
The government has to digitize the delivery of public services and cut its size. The size of some ministries can be cut by up to 20 to 30%. The public service is bloated. The people working there, very few of them have an incentive to actually do a very good job because they earn a salary and they are unaccountable. We need to ensure that every single ministry is increasingly accountable. We need to cut their sizes by 20 to 30%, digitize the delivery of public services so that we don't need as many people there and people can go into much more productive sectors in the private sector.
Over the last 5 to 6 financial years, Cameroon's public wage bill has been on the rise persistently, and since the start of 2025, about 10,000 fictitious civil servants were laid off from the state's payroll, draining billions from the public treasury.
Away from parliament, renowned political opposition leader Anise Ekane has passed on to glory in custody. The president of the Manidem party was arrested during post-electoral tension and since then was held in detention by the National Gendarmerie. Following his sudden death, reactions have been pouring out from the political class, as you tell us, Evans Williams Jobati.
Placed in custody since October 24, 2025, Georges Anise Ekane, president of the Littoral Base Party, Manidem, and fierce opposition leader, died after several health complications while in detention. Michael Take is a militant of the Manidem Party.
I was actually on a similar program like this with Mr. Ekane's son, Muna Ekane, sympathizing with the situation of his dad without actually knowing that less than 24 hours will be no more. So I got this news. I was terribly shocked because I spoke with him yesterday and I can imagine he himself did not know that this is what is going to happen to his dad, let alone to the rest of the family. And tend to even reflect a little bit like, okay, what exactly happened? This is a guy who was arrested over a month ago for actually just being a Cameroonian.
To Edith Kabanwala of the Cameroon's People Party, the 74-year-old opposition frontliner did not do anything wrong aside from his political duty and right.
We have all known him because of his political activity, and it is a real catastrophe because Anise Ekane, along with the other close to 2,000 people who have been arrested, it was kidnapping, and in the midst of that kidnapping, they took somebody who was ill and left behind his medical equipment that he needed for his well-being. And the alarm has been rung weeks ago by his lawyer.
Coupled with them, political analyst and a close friend to the deceased, Are Obenson, is still shocked by this update from the National Gendarmerie.
It's a dark day for Cameroon, a dark day for the resistance. Me, like everybody else, was the first thing that popped. My phone was exploding with messages and few people had called, but 4 a.m. in the morning, I missed those calls and then I woke up and saw all of these messages. At the beginning, I was sad about it, but getting angry about it. And then I got to the point where I said, we must do something about it. I did a few calls, I screamed at a few people.
As it stands, several other political parties, scholars, and international bodies like the CPNR, FSNC, UDC, CRM, and the European Union, among others, have strongly condemned the act of detaining the opposition while expressing their sincere sympathies to the family for their loss.
In the meantime, the Ministry of Defense has on its part opened an investigation on the incident in order to bring clarity to the issue. This was made known via a communique signed by Navy Captain Atonfak Gemo Cyril Serge, head of Communication Division, yesterday, December 1st, 2025. Meanwhile, through a voice interview, the Minister of Communications spokesperson of the government, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, expressed his heartfelt condolences upon hearing the news. Take a listen to him.
You know, I am the spokesman of the government, but I'm not the Minister of Territorial Administration or the Minister in charge of police and gendarmerie. I will check up. I'll ask the governor what happened, and then maybe I may come back and inform you. I am sad. I'm sad. Ekane was my friend. I knew him very personally. This is my own feeling. You know, there are some decisions which are taken, and people think that when they behave like that, they do it for the interest of the country, but sometimes, you know, they do not consult those who can have a different position. So, well, I think we should regret what happened. If I were there, I would not have allowed that. You see, this is my own point of view. But let's wait and see. I presume that we'll try to clarify the situation.
As you heard in one of our top stories, in prelude to the International Volunteer Day, the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education has organized an immersion session today at the National Training and Skills Development Center in Yaoundé under the theme Volunteering, a Catalyst for Public Policies for the Efficient Supervision of Population for Development. The session aims at transforming volunteering into a development tool for sectoral approaches in a time where there has been a decline in volunteering practices. Our reporter Ngang Nadesh spoke with some sociologists on what could account for such decline and now reports.
Gwenyi Victorine is a sociologist. She attempts a definition of what volunteerism is all about.
Volunteerism is when somebody opts to do something without pay or without any secondary aim, especially in the domain of help. Somebody will actually want to help in any domain or the other. Volunteers, as I look at them, as risk takers, because some people volunteer and in the course of it, they even lose their lives in that act. So it is an expensive action, especially when it comes to the person volunteering.
Dr. Tata Peters, another sociologist, highlights economic hardship and the increasing pressure to meet basic needs as significant barriers to volunteerism.
There is a lot of economic pressure today to the extent that young people are getting into a situation where the demands are too high in terms of education, social needs. Many people today prefer to get into jobs that provide immediate wages or salaries that will help them cope up with pressures that are coming in from left and right. Economic hardship is all over the place. Resources are scarce. Support that was coming in from left and right, young people used to receive them.
Gwenyi Victory adds that the lack of appreciation and unwelcoming attitude from benefactors also discourages participation in volunteer work.
They look at it as, they will say in English, help carry kenja. You help and people don't actually appreciate. Most volunteers, even though it is an act that they don't even need any appreciation, but at least people that they help should even be welcoming. Some people take it for a right. Some people think these people, they are just supposed to do it. No.
Both experts concur that global insecurity and safety concerns in volunteer areas deter potential volunteers due to risks to their safety and well-being.
This insecurity situation all over the world is no more safe. Most of the volunteer jobs are usually in the hard-to-reach areas, inaccessible areas where ransoms are demanded.
The society now is being ruled by cultism and sects. Some people, in the course of volunteering, they might be involved in one sect or the other, or they might use them even for rituals.
Gwenyi Victorine concludes by noting that
people look at volunteers today as if they are stupid. They are not stupid, they are simply helping. But people look at them as if they are stupid. And these volunteers have come to understand this and they don't want to do anything again. They have become skeptical. They have become very resentful. They don't want to put in that action that is termed godly. So they have withdrawn.
The 40th edition of International Volunteer Day will be commemorated on December 5th, 2025 under the theme Every Contribution Matters.
It is 15 minutes past the hour of 2 p.m. You are listening to the 2 p.m. newscast on Royal FM. On to this feature story or human interest story, a home teacher was recently caught in bed with his student's mother in Makepe, Misoke, a neighborhood in Douala, Littoral region. According to an article published by Cameroon Tribune, the home teacher by name Jeremy Noel and his mistress were discovered in a room by his employer, who is the father of his student. This incident has caught the attention of parents who have been condemning the act, and also taking measures to prevent such occurrences in their homes. They spoke to our reporter Glory Ngange, who compiled the following report.
The recent act of adultery between a married home teacher and his employer's wife has left parents in regret as they highlight its consequences on the children's learning process.
Hearing a teacher was caught at home having sex with the mother of the student, it's sad.
With all this, I blame the parent because you cannot take yourself too low to lay with your child's teacher. It will affect the child's education because the teacher will want to do anything he wants to do, and you as the parent, you will not be able to say anything because you are already in a kind of intimacy with the teacher.
Given that home teaching has become an indispensable part of the educational journey for some learners, parents have decided to set boundaries that will hinder unwanted relationships, as Promise attests.
You come, you sit on the veranda and you teach, and then you go back. Some kind of discussion is forbidden. There are things you should not ask your home teacher or you should not discuss with your home teacher because discussion leads to many things. We are humans. Don't involve the teacher in discussing about his life or your life or something that does not even concern the classes that he is coming to do.
While aligning with the latter, Claudette prefers extra classes to be done in school campuses.
If you are that kind of person who is very weak, make sure even if there is a home teacher, make sure you and that teacher do not have intimate discussion. I think it should end at the business part, like how are you people coping, how is the child doing, is he improving, end there. If it is even possible that the child should receive the lessons in school, after school, it should be better.
Flora, on her part, advises that classes should be carried out in the teacher's home or an extra space far away from the student's residence.
I prefer the teacher teaches the child in his or her own house, or you look for a separate place aside from your home, because I think maybe this teacher behaves like that maybe because he or she used to come and teach the child in their family house. The only interaction you have with the teacher is pay the money at the right time.
Home teaching has become an integral part of the academic process to many students, especially slow learners. Therefore, to ensure its smooth running, parents should set boundaries and maintain professionalism with the educators involved.
Let's now welcome Mapala Zita, who is senior reporter and editor-in-chief here at Royal FM. Good afternoon, Zita.
Good afternoon, Crispine.
Zita, you have latest updates of what's making news out of Cameroon, and our first story is from Nigeria, where the defense minister has resigned.
Defense Minister Mohamed Badaru Abubakar resigned yesterday, this according to information from the Nigerian president's office. His departure comes amidst a growing security crisis that has seen the mass kidnapping of hundreds of school children and worshippers in recent weeks. The crisis got more complex as groups from other parts of the Sahel region have joined jihadist Boko Haram factions seeking to expand their presence in northern Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu last week declared a nationwide security emergency and ordered the recruitment of an additional 20,000 police officers. Worth noting also is that last month, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened military actions against Nigeria over what he says is the persecution of Christians, a claim, of course, which the Nigerian government denies.
Zita, you also say a South African radio presenter has been arrested for allegedly recruiting fighters for Russia.
Nonkululeko Mantula was arrested with 4 men after a tip-off to authorities. She appeared in court today accused of recruiting men to fight for Russia in the war in Ukraine. Investigators say Mantulu recruited the men and arranged their planned enlistment into the Russian army. Police say 3 of the men were stopped at the airport while trying to fly to Russia through the United Arab Emirates, while adding that they believe a 5th recruit may have already reached Russia.
Anything else, Zita?
Most definitely, Crispin. French unions have called for a national day of strike action and widespread protest today to pile pressure on the government's 2026 budget proposal. The national cross-sector strike action called by 3 French unions, the CGT, the FSU, and Solidaire, is part of ongoing opposition to the draft 2026 budget, which is currently going through Parliament and has to be agreed on by the end of the year. And then the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said the UN will cut its budget by 15.1% and reduce staff by 18.8% in 2026. This as unpaid dues from member states climb to $1.59 trillion. The UN chief announced next year's budget on Monday, which he sets at $3.24 billion, a reduction of $577 million from that of this current year.
Thank you very much, Mapala Zita. We come back to Talk Sport. The Cameroon Football Federation has relieved Mark Breeze of his duties as head coach of the Indomitable Lions. The decision made during an emergency meeting held yesterday at the Federation headquarters saw the immediate appointment of Pagu David to lead the Lions through the 2025 AFCON. More details with Biwa Brian.
During the emergency committee meeting attended by the Federation President and 4 Vice Presidents, including Pierre Batamak, the Cameroon Football Federation formally listed 11 sins justifying the termination of Mark Breeze as the head coach of the Indomitable Lions. The primary reason cited focused on repeated professional misconduct that severely disrupted the team's image and performance, notably impacting the team's failed qualification for the 2026 World Cup. This misconduct includes a refusal to attend certain work sessions and gatherings, his non-communication of crucial documents such as training programs, final player lists within deadlines, and reports after international matches. Breeze was also accused of violating protocols by publishing players' lists and organizing press conferences without obtaining FECAFOOT authorization, even employing deceit to avoid professional obligations like scheduling press conference. Furthermore, the committee alleged serious issues concerning staff integrity and governance, noting his decision to actively collaborate with unauthorized persons. The Federation also cited a significant breach regarding contractual safety, specifically his non-respect of marketing charter, which put sponsor relationship at risk. Most gravely, the committee accused Breeze of diverting players and inciting them to defiance towards FECAFOOT, asserting these compounded misconducts were largely responsible for the disruption and the team's subsequent non-qualification for the final phase of the 2026 World Cup. For these 11 sins, the Federation found Coach Pagu David, one-time Elite One and Cameroon Cup winner with PWD of Bamenda, as the worthy candidate to lead the Indomitable Lions.
In the same vein, Brian, the Lions' new head coach has made public the list of players selected to represent Cameroon at the Africa Cup of Nations, which is 19 days away.
A total of 28 players have been selected by current Kotong Sport of Garoua coach Pagu David. The goalkeepers include Davise Pasi, Simon Omosola, Simon Gapa Dwedboot, and Edouard Sombang of Colombe Sportif of Jai Lobo. The defenders include Samuel Junior Koto, Jinzino Yamsi, Jean-Charles Castelletto, Nuwu Tolo, Flavian Enzo Boyomo, Muhammadu Nagida Junior Chama de Christopher Wu, and Darling Yongwa. The midfielders include Martin Atemenge, Carlos Baleba, Atiu Avom, Eric Junior Dina Bimbe,
Fidel Brice, Bina, Dani Namaso, Christian Basogok, Brian Mbwemo, George, Kevin Kudu, Junior Onana, and Olivier Kemen. The attackers include Christian Kofani, Frank Magri, Carl Eta Eyong, and Patrick Soko. The set 28-man list unveiled by the new head coach Pagu David shows a departure from the past, highlighting a bold move towards young talent. The roster features 15 players who have never played the African Cup of Nations and will seek to make their debut in Morocco later this month. This commitment to change, however, has come at a high cost, with numerous key omissions in the set list. The most significant absentees include goalkeeper Andre Onana, legendary striker Vincent Abubakar, defenders like Jackson Chachua, Michel Ngandu, and midfielders like Martin Onglak. Andre Frank Zamboangisa is also confirmed unavailable due to injury. The squad welcomes fresh talent like Christian Kofani and Edouard Sombang, signaling a major rebuild phase for the indomitable Lions of Cameroon. In the meantime, here is a compilation of what some Cameroonians think about the new 28-man squad put together by Coach Pagu David.
The list of David Pagu can be viewed as a good one if we work for a long-term project. The immediate ambition should not be to win the Africa Cup of Nations. The good ambition is to work in order to have a performance team for the 2027 and 2029 editions.
I think it is a list of youthfulness because the average age there should be 29. I just think it gives a new generation of Cameroonian footballers where we no longer have the old lions in the team anymore. I do think in as much as we have this young lad, it would have been so important for us to have the experience.
For one, it was not the right time to do such a list. It was not the right moment to take such decisions. That's not normal in a period where we are preparing for our international competition like the AFCON in less than 20 days.
For the absences of key players, we should not forget that during the last World Cup qualifiers, we failed to qualify for the finals with our key players, Andre Onana, Vincent Abubakar, Choupo-Moting, and so on. It is also important to think that we should give the young players the opportunity.
Let's now welcome Francine Ateba for the summary of this newscast in the French language. Good afternoon, Francine.
Bonsoir, Frigno et Crispine. La mort d'Anissé Ekané le 1er décembre 2025 laisse un vide dans la sphère politique camerounaise. Homme politique engagé, courageux et nationaliste, il a marqué de manière indélébile l'arène politique. À cet effet, les acteurs politiques lui rendent un vibrant hommage. Du côté du Parlement, clap de fin pour la session ordinaire de novembre 2025. Une session marquée par la prestation de serment du chef de l'État et l'examen ainsi que l'adoption du projet de loi portant sur la loi des finances 2026. Une séance plénière au cours de laquelle le président de l'Assemblée nationale appelle les députés à être des ambassadeurs de la paix. À l'étranger, au Nigeria, le ministre de la Défense a démissionné de ses fonctions hier suite aux enlèvements et à l'insécurité grandissante dans le pays. En sport, les Lions indomptables ont un nouveau staff technique avec à sa tête David Pagou. La FICAFoot a fait l'annonce hier. En outre, la liste des 28 joueurs sélectionnés par la CAN Maroc 2025 est disponible.
The news was technically assisted by Salomon Esana, our sound engineer and studios clerk, video editor Alan Kwekam, producer Jeffrey Tachum, news editing Mapala Zita, editorial coaching-able Bila Samari, coordination Roger Kiek, general supervision the Reverend Pastor Bisai Emmanuel Noel. For presentation, I have been Frinwe Crispin. Up next is Fraîcheur Royale, the second part with our national Raissa Parker.
Our national. Thank you, Queen Crispin. Good afternoon.
Once more.
Oui, vraiment. Et bon après-midi une fois encore aux auditeurs. Jean-Claude Ngué, bon après-midi. Voilà, laissez que voilà. Il dit que c'est déjà international.
Okay, it's no longer national.
Yes.
It's now international.
International.
And it's going to be war.